as people are still coming in. So again, good afternoon, or almost good afternoon, still morning technically. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chantel Smith. I'm the coordinator for recruitment and programming here in the Honors College at the University of Maryland. Joining me for this webinar, we have Dr. Jenny Lang, the Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment in the Honors College, and a couple of our current students. We'll ask our students to introduce themselves after the presentation is over. Our presentation will be about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll be available to answer questions up until 1 p.m. Please make sure to use the chat feature, only if you're having technical issues. We will be answering questions that come in through the Q&A feature. So if you have a question that has already been asked, you can actually promote it to move up and actually, let me see something, let me do that now. Perfect. Okay. So getting started, what is the Honors College? So the Honors College at the University of Maryland is an opportunity for invited students to join a community of faculty, staff, and students dedicated to diversity, inclusivity, responsibility, and a sense of engagement within the world. Students invited to join the Honors College will join one of our 8 different living learning programs, which will provide each student with a community and opportunities to explore a focused curriculum as they pursue their honors citation, which is listed on their transcript. Most courses for the honors citation will satisfy general education requirements, so the courses students take in honors will actually help them as they work towards earning their degree. You can look at the Honors College as an enhancement to your education, nothing additional, that allows you to have a different option of classes to take in order to fulfill some of your graduation requirements. That also includes a co-curricular component. Our goal is to foster learning inside and outside of the classroom and to create a supportive, close-knit community for our students. Our 8 different living learning programs offer students a wide range of concepts and ideas to explore, to include cybersecurity, design, research, the humanities, business, globalization, and the life sciences. Students of all majors are welcomed into the Honors College and to each of the living learning programs. Most students will earn their honors citation in the first 2 years at UMD, but will remain members of the Honors College for all 4 years, taking part in social events, professional development events, and other research, internship, and study abroad opportunities.
So as Chantal mentioned, we have 8 unique living learning programs, and all students who are invited to the Honors College will need to be in one of our living learning programs. Each program has a different curriculum and area of focus or approach, which the students will pursue to earn their honors citation. After the admissions decisions were released, students have the opportunity to identify which living learning program they prefer through a preferencing form. Hopefully, most of your students have already submitted this form. Students who submitted the form by February 20th have already received their invitation. Students who submitted by this past Friday, April 14th, will receive their LLP invite next week. Just a heads up, if your student does not know, did not submit the form, please have them contact us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu. Our goal is for students to find out the program that they are in before they have to confirm their decision to enroll at the University of Maryland. So a little bit about each of the programs. Advanced Cybersecurity Experience for Students, better known as ACEs, develop successful, forward-thinking cyber leaders who create a safer world by embracing both the technical and non-technical aspects of cybersecurity. Design Cultures and Creativity explores the roles and impact of design in our societies and creative practices in ways that cut across STEM and non-STEM disciplines. Students in this program are theorists and thinkers who investigate the digital age through designing, analyzing, and creating. Gemstone is a unique multidisciplinary 4-year research program for honor students of all majors who are interested in leadership, teamwork, and social impact. Students will work in teams of 8 to 12 students beginning at the end of their freshman year and continuing all the way through their senior year on a research project with the guidance of a dedicated faculty mentor. Honors Global Communities is one of our 2 newest programs. This new curriculum is focused on using data science to analyze and consider global challenges. Students will have unique internship opportunities through the Global Fellows Program with access to internships located in the DC area, which will satisfy the curriculum requirements. Honors Humanities is our signature program for exploring the arts and humanities in all their creative, social, and global dimensions. empowering students to find their voices in imagining their future and in changing the world. Integrated Life Sciences offers unparalleled, accelerated, and innovative courses and research opportunities in all areas of the life sciences, as well as service learning experiences that are designed to launch the careers of outstanding students of all majors, exploring all aspects of life sciences. Interdisciplinary Business Honors is our other new program, which offers students a big picture view of business in relation to multiple fields, life callings, and social issues, and challenges students to imagine the future of work and business. And finally, University Honors, our oldest, largest, and freshly reimagined and relaunched program, with an exciting new curriculum and brand new residence halls and program space in the middle of campus. This is a program which is not defined by a specific subject, but rather draws on distinguished faculty from across campus to teach fascinating courses on big questions and ideas from different disciplinary perspectives, STEM and non-STEM. Students will pursue their curiosity wherever it leads, as they also encounter multiple perspectives of thinking. We often are asked, my student is in X major, which is the right program for my student? Every single one of these programs is available to students of any major. Students are not invited to a living learning program based on their major, so they can choose to be in a living learning program that is related to their major so that they're able to go more in depth in their chosen field of study, or they can be in a program that is the complete opposite of their major, giving them an opportunity to broaden their experience during their time here at the University of Maryland.
So you may be asking, what exactly are the benefits of being a part of the Honors College? So within the Honors College, students actually take, within their curriculum, they're taking small discussion-based courses, many of which are actually smaller than the regular courses offered to all of the UMD students. As mentioned before, students typically will earn their honor citation, which is listed on their transcript, in 2 years, although one of our programs, Gemstone, which is the 4-year research-based program, does take the entire 4 years to complete their citation. Students are also able to connect more closely with fellow honor students and with the faculty and staff. We also offer study abroad, internship, and research opportunities both on and off campus. And our students participate fully in the life of the university. They're not siloed at all. In most cases, they're members of a lot of different departments and student groups across campus. And we also offer a number of social events to encourage our students to connect both with the entire Honors College community and also through their specific living learning programs. To include one of our most popular events that we host, our Ice Cream Socials, that features Maryland Dairy Ice Cream.
Our location gives students access to many internship opportunities in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. region. Each of our programs will bring in experts in the field of study to meet with their students. So for example, the Advanced Cybersecurity Experience for Students program, known as ACES, has a career mentor component where experts from organizations such as the NSA come in and talk to the students in the program about their career and how they got there, and they're able to offer the students guidance on their careers. And internships are available both during the school year and over the summer, and there are internships available both on and off campus.
So University of Maryland is a Research One institution, which basically means we typically have more access to grants, more labs, more faculty, and thus more opportunities for our undergrad students to get involved. And since, like I mentioned before, we offer smaller class sizes, this gives our students more access to the faculty and therefore more opportunities to work in those faculty labs. We offer research opportunities both on and off campus, and because of our prime geographical location, students have easy access to research opportunities in the area, to include Johns Hopkins and the National Institutes of Health.
And study abroad is a great opportunity for students. Some of our students are in majors that do have heavy course loads, so it may make studying abroad for an entire semester challenging, but there are also winter, spring break, and summer study abroad programs. And if a student is interested in studying abroad, it's certainly something that a large number of students do. We really encourage students to talk to their advisor about these possibilities as early as possible, and they should visit the study abroad office on campus. I also know the study abroad office offers a study abroad fair, I believe, every single semester. So that's a great opportunity for students to find out about the opportunities available. And some of our living learning programs do include a study abroad option in the curriculum. So if this is important to a student, it's a really good way to pursue a study abroad and also complete citation requirements at the same time.
So as mentioned before, there's hundreds of student groups and organizations across campus that our students are involved in and can be involved in. But within the Honors College, we actually have a few involvement opportunities as well. Just to highlight a couple, we have the Honors Ambassadors. It's a volunteer organization that consists of our current students who are available to talk with our prospective students, like the students that are joining us today. These students participate in all of our on-campus and virtual recruiting events. And also each of our living learning programs within Honors has a student advisory board, which serves as a connection between the students in the program and the faculty and staff who run the program. These students organize and give input for social events and program-specific activities outside of the academic curriculum. And again, these involvement opportunities are actually also good for students who have completed their citation and still want to be involved in Honors. They're welcome to be a part of these involvement opportunities.
Once students are here, we have a scholarship office here on campus, the National Scholarships Office, which is available to help connect our students with scholarships that will fit their goals and skills. Many of our Honors College students have been very successful in applying for and winning these competitive national and international awards. So in the slide, you'll see a few of the national awards and scholarships that our students in the Honors College have earned this past year. And just to note, this represents the scholarships earned in the 2021-2022 academic year, not the current academic year, since the current academic year is still in progress.
And here you can just see some statistics on our students who graduated again during the 2021 academic year. 64% of our students actually had jobs after graduation. 31% of our students plan to attend graduate school. Some of our students went into volunteer opportunities to include AmeriCorps and the Peace Corps. And we also had a small percentage of our students that decided to go into the military after graduation.
So here you can see some of the graduate and professional school destinations that our students go to when they graduate here, and some of the career placements. So the types of graduate programs that our students attend include med school, law school, veterinary medicine, library science, engineering, and anthropology, among many others. And then some career placement examples include a systems developer and software developer engineer at Amazon, a financial analyst and program manager at Microsoft Corporation, and classroom teachers in the local school districts. These are small samples of the many places that our students go after they have graduated.
So that is the end of our presentation. Just a reminder, if your student has not submitted their program preference form, please have them email us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu. If they have submitted it by the April 14th deadline, they should be hearing back by the end of the month. And of course, if they've submitted by the February 20th best consideration date, they should already know which program they're in. And also, if students plan to live on campus, please remember to submit their housing application along with their confirmation to attend UMD by May 1st. If those students are in our Integrated Life Sciences program, our Interdisciplinary Business Honors, or our ACES program, they are required to submit the form since there is a living requirement for those programs. And if any of you or your students have any questions, you're welcome to contact us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu. So now I will unshare my screen and we can start getting to the questions that you guys are asking in the Q&A section. I'll actually have, while I'm looking at the questions, I'll have our honors ambassadors. Thanks again for joining us. Just introduce yourselves, what your program is, your major, and you tell your year as well. Grishma, you can start.
Hi everyone, my name is Grishma. I'm a senior biology and psychology major, and I'm in the Gemstone Living and Learning program.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a sophomore history and finance major, and I'm in UH, which is the University Honors Program.
Thank you guys. So there's a question in regards to, is there a waitlist for the Honors College? If your student has been placed in a program and wants to switch, They can email us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu and request that switch. It is not a guarantee. It is contingent on space availability, and we won't know that until after May 1st. So just a heads up on that. Jenny, do you want to go and answer the?
Yeah. So there's a question that says, my son was admitted to ACES, but has several AP credits, which we believe fulfill many of his Gen Ed DS credits. Who can I contact to find out exactly what credit requirements the ACES honors courses fulfill? So I said I wanted to answer this question live because it's a very specific question, but I would like to answer it a bit more generally. Courses are listed in the university scheduling system, which is called Testudo. So you can go to www.testudo.umd.edu, click on schedule of classes, and you can view all of the courses that are available. And if you look at an individual course, so I think the first ACES course is, it's called HACS, HACS, either 100 or 101. But if you check out, for instance, HACS 100 or 101, whichever one shows up in Testudo, it should have on there a listing of what general ed requirements it satisfies. So in a moment, I'll put in the chat some links after I answer verbally, because I can't do both at the same time. Some links with to like Testudo, a link to the general education curriculum, and an explanation. So courses are identified as like distributive studies, and then it would be DS, and then there's 2 letters after it identifying which specific distributive studies requirement it satisfied. So there's going to be a bunch of 4-letter codes. This is something students will go through in more detail with their advisors once they get there. And Grisham and Elizabeth, maybe you guys have some advice. But I did want to identify that courses that students have taken, credits that they come in with, do not satisfy the honors specific courses, the courses that students take in their LLP curriculum. They will not satisfy those requirements. The courses that we offer in honors are very unique courses and serve specific purposes within the curriculum of the LLPs. And so an outside course will not satisfy any of the requirements for the citation, but the courses that students take for the citation, some of them will satisfy some gen ed requirements. That's a really long answer. I hope it covers what you're looking for. Grisham and Elizabeth, do you have anything to share about advising about the curriculum, about how it works with, AP credits?
Like you said, I find that many of my honors classes cover like other gen ed requirements, but like a lot of my AP credits, they just covered regular gen ed classes, which was very helpful as well.
And then there's a question about students in the program required to live on campus for 2 years. There is one program that requires students to live on campus in their specific housing for 2 years. That program is ACES. There are 2 programs that require students to live on campus in their specific housing for 1 year. Those 2 programs are ILS, the Integrated Life Sciences Program, and IBH, the Business Honors Program. All of the other LLPs, the other 5 programs, do not require students to live on campus. They encourage students to live in their program housing, but students can request to live elsewhere on campus, and then they can also live off campus. Those programs do not require students to live in the program housing.
And the next question, if the kids have a during the year internship off campus, is it possible for them to have a car on campus? Grishma and Elizabeth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're allowed to have a car on campus. They would have to just pay for a parking permit. Let's see. Are there any scholarships shown only available after their first year? So Jenny mentioned in the presentation that we have a national scholarships office on campus. So a lot of students, we typically will suggest that they go to see them to see what type of scholarships they may be eligible for and can apply for. And those are all scholarships that are for students who are current students. So it'll be after their first year. what is the relationship between the departments?
Okay, this is a really good question, actually. Okay, so a student will have a major, and whatever their major is, they will be in the home of an academic department. So my background is in music. When I was a music student, my home was the School of Music, which is in the College of Arts and Humanities. The Honors College is it's an academic unit, but it's separate. It's not like the main academic department. So the student's major is one academic home that is their primary academic home. If they're a double major in another college, then they may have, two academic homes. The Honors College is additional. It's separate. There may be some relation if a student is a bio major and is in integrated life sciences, for example. Those are obviously related, but there are students who are biology majors who are in the Honors Humanities program, and those are not related. So it just gives students sort of an additional area of study, an additional sort of home, a community, and they may have students who are, in their LLP and in their major, who there will be some crossover, but then they'll have, students in each of the other programs that may be unique. Grishma and Elizabeth, do you have anything to share about that idea? No? Okay.
Let's see. Are the internship opportunities open to the Honors College students only? So no, there's internships across campus that our students get involved in. Some of them may stem from their living learning program. Others may just be across campus. We actually have a listserv that goes out every Wednesday that gives information on scholarships, internships, stuff of that nature. So our students are kind of in the loop of what's available to them. The second part of that question is, are students in the computer science program, I guess, but not in ACES, do they have access to the same internship opportunities that the ACES students do? So ACES does have a partnership with a couple organizations. As far as if you're able to get internship, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get internship opportunities in those programs, but ACES has an easier kind of way to get into internship opportunities since they have that relationship. Also, in regards to not being a part of ACES, the ACES program does have a minor. So if your student is a CS major, wants to be in ACES, maybe didn't get into ACES, but still wants to take some of those courses, they can apply for the ACES minor, which is available when they're upperclassmen or just upper class courses. And that minor is available to all students across campus. Yes, this Zoom session is being recorded. It'll be posted on our webpage within the next few business days. So here is a question for Grishma. Could you please share more about the Gemstone program? I guess just say what it is and maybe your experience with it.
Yeah, so Gemstone is a 4-year interdisciplinary research program. It's the only 4-year program in the Honors College. The other programs are 2 years. So basically in Gemstone, the end of your freshman year, all the students will propose research ideas that they would be interested in pursuing for the next 3 years. And through a voting process, they will get narrowed down to about 10 to 15 projects. And then the students will rank 3 projects that they're most interested in or would like to pursue. And then they will get put into a team with peers who are also interested in that research topic. And that will be your team for the next 3 years. And that will be sort of your research topic for the next 3 years. And you will work with a mentor, a research mentor who will act as an expert for your team and also whose lab space and resources you can utilize for the research. So then in the next 3 years, you and your team will creating the questions, do the experimental design, to analyzing the results. And then all of that will basically accumulate in a thesis presentation at the end of your senior year. I just had mine last Friday. So the end result is a thesis, and you will also do a thesis presentation the end of your spring semester. And I had a really great experience with Gemstone. I learned a lot about research. I learned a lot about being prepared for a career in research or going off to grad school. But I think something that I was most surprised by was also how much I learned about personal and interpersonal skills through the program. Just being able to convey your research the way in an effective manner, and being able to, when you're sitting down for an interview for an application or internship or grad school, being able to present yourself in a way that the other person would know they would want to work with you. So I was very grateful for Gemstone in both like an academic sense, but also a personal sense as well.
Thank you. So the next questions are in regards to housing. Do students get separate housing? I guess, Jenny, you can answer both of those kind of together.
Yeah, I've answered a bunch of questions about housing in the chat, so I'll just sort of go over it all. Students, if they submit the housing application form by May 1st, are guaranteed campus housing for their first year. So if a student intends to live on campus, they need to submit that form by May 1st. Students in honors, there is no space on the housing form for a student to put which LLP they're in or honors or anything like that. That is actually something that we, the Honors College, share with the Office of Resident Life after May 1st. So once we know who is coming, who is confirmed to the UMD, we know which LLP they're in. We send the Office of Resident Life a list of our incoming students and which LLP they're in, so that then Res Life has that information and Res Life makes their assignments. So Res Life is going to take all of the students who are in ACEs, who have submitted a housing form, which is hopefully all of them, and then Res Life makes the actual assignments. Same thing for every single other program. So if a student is coded in ACEs, they will be placed in the Prince Frederick Hall. If a student is coded in Honors Humanities, they will be in the Anne Arundel Hall, and so on and so forth. There is also a roommate finder process that will be available to incoming students. I believe it's in June-ish. The Office of Resident Life should send more information about that. Just to note, students are going to be coded in that resident finder, the roommate finder system, as a UH student or an ILS student or whichever program they're in. And students will fill out, this may be part of the housing form, sort of their, habits. I'm a morning person. I'm a very neat person. I like to stay up late, whatever. And then they will be able to match with other students in the roommate finder. But honor students will be coded as their specific LLP student, or within their specific LLP, and will only be able to match with students in that other LLP. So if your student wants to live somewhere else on campus other than in their specific program housing, that is a request that they can make. So they would want to contact their LLP, and then the LLP should send that information to Resident Life. We really encourage students to live in their program specific housing because it's a really unique experience, and they form a great community with the other students in that program. I don't know, Grishma and Elizabeth, if you have anything to add to that about your experience.
Yeah, I lived in Pyeongchang, which was one of the new dorms on campus for my freshman year, which was last year, and I absolutely loved it. Everyone on my floor, not everyone in the building was a UH student, but everyone on my floor was, and it was just really bonding because there were a lot of them were in my classes, and I came from a really small town, so having a close-knit community was really nice and a good it helped me transition to the school.
I agree. I think living in the same dorm as your LLP is really helpful in building that community and getting to know not only members from the same LLP, but also people from other programs and all their other programs and other majors. But especially like within the LLP, you definitely do get to build a really nice community if you live in close proximity to one another, just because everyone usually hangs out in the lounges, so you get to know them that way. A lot of them are also in your classes, so you have people there to also help you with your classes as well. So it's really helpful in building the community.
Thank you. So the next question is actually for Grishma and Elizabeth too. As honors students, do you ever feel overwhelmed at times considering the other academic requirements that you have?
I personally didn't feel overwhelmed with the academic requirements and the honors college. I actually think the honors college helped me not feel overwhelmed because you have a community there that is there to support you, whether that be your peers or also just advisors within your LLP that are always there to support you. And if you're feeling very overwhelmed with like your academics, you can kind of go to them and ask for support. So in that sort of sense, I think it helped me to feel less overwhelmed with everything else going on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. For like the first semester, there's this like gateway course that you take for the honors classes. And like I was really overwhelmed when coming to the school, but after this gateway course, like the teacher really helped like make me feel more mellow and like more confident in my position at the school.
Thank you. And then there is a question about is there any extra courses that students have to take to be in the honors college? So basically, each of our programs has their own set curriculum that ranges between 15 to 18 credits. Our students will take those courses, 1 to 2 courses a semester, along with the rest of their classes that they take for their degree requirements. And as mentioned before, majority of the time our classes are designed to fit into their general education courses. So there's a chance it could be an extra course for a person who's bringing in a lot of credits. But the majority of the time our students are able to at least get some of their gen eds knocked out from our courses. Also, as I see a related question about what is the difference between 2 years and 4-year programs. So the 2-year programs, every program is 2 years except for Gemstone. The reason being is because it is a research-based program and excuse me, and for it to be a full kind of research opportunity, it had to be a long-term thing. And the rest of our programs are 2 years because they're able to finish their curriculum within the 2 years. But it doesn't mean that they're not a part of the Honors College anymore. They're still members of the Honors College. And as mentioned before, there's like involvement opportunities that they can do to kind of remain in the Honors College, just like our ambassadors in Grishma. Let's see. Okay, so what are the advantages of living? They kind of answer this, but if you want to add anything, what do you guys feel are the advantages of living on campus?
I think a lot of the dorms, especially for the honors college, are really nice, and a lot of them are like newer, like Prince Frederick and Pyeongchang, and I think they just built a new one as well. And so like it's definitely nicer than like other dorms. Like a lot of my friends have like horror stories, not horror stories, but like tough stories about other dorms. But like our dorms are nicer, which is a perk, I think.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest thing for me was just already having a community there of people that have similar interests as you. College itself is a big transition, so just having like that community already there to support you, I think was really helpful in that transition and also throughout my 4 years.
Again, to add to that, you know, there's events that happen on campus that, you know, is easier access to for our students to go to that may not be a part of the Honors College, but just a part of on-campus events that they have. If students are living off campus, they still will have a great experience. We have a department that actually focuses on off-campus students and transfer students, so that they're transitioning well and still feel a part of the community of the university. So there's that. And then also a lot of our off-campus students, they will stay on campus after their classes and maybe go study in different places, meet up with friends and stuff like that. So they kind of still stay in the loop if they're not on campus. Can students stay in their honors housing longer than their first year? Some can. Elizabeth, are you still in Pyeongchang or did you move out?
I moved out.
Okay. And then Grishma, did you stay in Ellicott longer than 1 year, or did you moved out after the first year? Okay. So they moved out of their first year, but we do have some students that opt to stay their second year if there's space available. And a lot of our students actually end up rooming together after they move out. I don't know if you guys are roomed with one of your LP buddies, but that typically happens. Let's see. Are there any research opportunities for business majors? So business majors, I mean, if they can look for research opportunities are available for anyone who's interested in it. If they're like Gemstone has business majors in there as well. So it's not unavailable for business majors, but they'd have to kind of look for those opportunities. And again, we provide that that information to them as we get information from the school. That's stuff that we will send out to students so that they can get involved in if they're interested. Are internships widely available, that there are plenty for everyone? Yes. A lot of students say there's a lot of internships. Did either one of you have an internship?
I have an internship over the summer back at home. I'm from Jersey, but there's like so many opportunities. There's like a careers for Terps website where you can just like look at all these internships for like spring, summer, fall, like all the seasons, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, I hear that there's a lot of different internship opportunities, so definitely enough for everyone to kind of get a little bit of that. How small are the class sizes, regular versus honors college? So typically our class sizes are going to be around 30-ish per class, and that's versus a regular course, especially a general education course, is going to be probably in the hundreds. So the big difference. Lastly, how many courses a semester do you take in regular versus honors? So you're still taking the same amount of courses per semester. It's usually at least 12. Typically they'll take 15 credits. As far as your honors courses, you're only taking 1 to 2 courses per semester. And then the rest of those classes are going to be for your degree requirements.
Can I answer a question about, well, there's a question about confirming the dorm assignment. There's not really a place to confirm the dorm assignment until the Office of Res Life actually sends out those assignments. But if a student is invited to a particular LLP, they submit the housing form, they will be placed in that residence hall. And then there was a question about course assignments. So basically, when did the for each student fill out their request for classes? That happens at orientation. So students must attend an orientation because that is how they register for classes for the fall. There are in-person on-campus orientation options. There are a few options for a one-day orientation. There are good number of opportunities for a 2-day orientation. That's sort of the standard. That's what most students participate in. One night where the student lives in the resident hall, and they have, the 2 days of activities. And then there are also some virtual options, which I think would be a 1-day orientation. But the important part of orientation, there's a whole lot that goes on, but the primary important part of that is registering for classes. So the spaces for orientation are determined by the academic colleges, not by the Honors College. We have gotten this question quite a few times. So there's a certain number of spaces for business majors in a particular orientation. There's a certain number of spaces for arts and humanities majors. There's a certain number of spaces for students from CMNS and from BSOS, from each of the academic colleges, because we need to make sure that there are advisors available to meet and work with those students and make sure they get registered for classes. So there are 3 orientation dates, the in-person 2-day orientations that are honors specific orientations that only honors students are able to register for. I have started to hear that some of them are full. So if you are not able to attend an honors orientation, that is fine, because the most important thing, again, is that you are able to register for classes. So if you are not able to register for an honors orientation, please choose another date that has your academic major, because that is the important thing. I am actually in touch with students all throughout the summer for students who attend a non-honors orientation to make sure they get the information they need about honors courses to register for. So the difference between a regular orientation and an honors orientation is 1 45-minute session. Otherwise, the orientations are the same. So the primary important factor is that you're able to register for classes. So make sure you choose a date that has your academic major available. You can go ahead and register for orientation anytime. Orientations will start at the end of May, run through pretty consistently through the end of July. Then there's a couple weeks off in early August, and then the last 2 weeks of August, we finish up with like 1-day orientations for students who are, have other plans in the summer. So it is really important that students do attend an orientation to make sure that they are able to register for classes.
Thank you, Jenny. So we do have a couple questions in regards to gemstone and graduating early. So it is possible to graduate early and be in gemstone, but those students, there's a process that's already in place, and those students basically would graduate and then continue with their research with their group, and then present with their group. Grishma, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so you can definitely graduate early, but you would have to, like Chantal said, to continue with the research, and you have to be there for your thesis conference and also your citation ceremony. Those are requirements in order to get your citation. So you would have to be there for those 2 events.
And that also, thank you for that. That also answers the next question that I had, which was, is it a group research project? And do you present as a group?
Yes, so it is a group research project, and you do present as a group. Basically, the presentations, though, is that you have a 25-minute presentation for your research, and then after that, you will meet with your discussants in a private setting, and they will basically ask you questions and also give advice on how to improve your research and your thesis.
Thank you. So the next question is about how we socialize our students in the events that we hold. So again, we have events at the Honors College Central level, for example, the ice cream socials that we do, but each living learning program actually holds their own events and co-curricular activities and stuff like that. Elizabeth, did you want to talk about UH's Housing Cup and kind of how that works and any events that you guys do?
Yeah, so UH has this thing called Housing Cup where you're put into a specific house. It's kind of like Harry Potter. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but you get put into a specific house, and you like compete throughout the year and you submit points, and like you get points for like going to volunteer events, getting like you get points for like basically anything, or not anything, but you could submit points for a lot of stuff. And then the team with the most points at the end of the year has, last year my team won and we got Qdoba and catered for us, and like Pyeongchang, which was really nice, and it was really fun to see because it was like I didn't think we were gonna win, and it was like every like I think every month or every week like there's a poll sent out which shows you like the rankings, and like the teachers would get like pretty competitive about it, which was really fun. And then there's events like Jeopardy was held last year a lot in Pyeongchang, and like I would just go downstairs with my roommate and we would play Jeopardy, and it was really fun, and it was like kind of a relaxing way to like take our mind off of schoolwork.
Thank you. And then Grishma, you want to talk about events for gyms, including the gyms camp and stuff like that?
Yeah, so before you start school your freshman year, we have something called GEMS Camp, which is basically like and it's optional, you don't have to do it, but you would go into a nearby like area and you would have certain like team building activities, and you would get to know your classmates before you actually come on campus and begin your classes. So it's a really great opportunity to meet people that are in Gemstone and that will be there with you for the next like 4 years. We also have something called GEMS Prom, which is always really fun. It happens every year. It's open to everyone, but you get to meet a lot of people in your cohort and also like between cohorts as well. And it's always a great event. We also like once we build our team, we have like a team formation activity at the rec center. Basically, like the teams will compete with each other to see like who's gonna win. We climb the rock wall and we have all these different activities there. So it's a way to like build a bond with your team, but also you can get a little competitive and see which team is the best. But yeah, they're all like really fun activities to build a community.
Thank you. And then next question is, can you request a specific roommate? I think Jenny may have kind of touched on this earlier, but you can request a roommate. You would have to contact the Office of Resident Life and put that request in. Again, if the roommate, for example, if you have a university honors student who wants to room with someone outside of university honors, they can do that and request that specific roommate, but they would not be staying in the university honors resident halls. So that's something to keep in mind. Is there a minimum or a maximum number of credits classes students are to take per semester?
So to be full-time, students need to be registered for 12 credits. Full-time, there's a bunch of different definitions of full-time, but in terms of your tuition charge, it is full-time is considered 12 credits. So if a student is registered for 12 credits or more, they will be charged the flat in-state tuition rate. If they are registered for 11 credits or less, they are charged per credit. Most students are full-time, so 12 credits or more, they pay the flat rate. I believe that students can register for up to, well, prior to the first day of classes, they can register for 19 credits. Then they have to get permission from their advisor to register for more. They can register for up to either 21 or 22. Above that, they may be charged more, but I don't think that anyone on the screen would recommend that a student take more than 21 credits. I think most honor students take about 15 credits per semester. So generally you're not pushing against an upper limit and it doesn't really come into play. But most students will take, a minimum of 12 and then up to 15, maybe 18. I know music majors take a lot more than that, just because there's so many little individual 1 credit courses that students take. Sorry, I said my background was in music, so that's what I'm most familiar with. But otherwise, generally somewhere between 15 and 18, depending on the semester and what a student can be successful with.
And since I have you, Jenny, do students get honored at graduation for being a part of the Honors College?
So students, when they graduate, We provide cords for them. They are red and yellow cords that they can wear with their cap and gown, graduation attire. We encourage students to come pick them up from us. So right now we have a cord pickup going on for our current seniors. Krishma, did you get your cords? Excellent. So that is available to recognize our honor students.
Thank you. So during freshman year, did either one of you have a car? Okay, perfect. So the next question is, how hard is it not having a car as a freshman, especially if you're out-of-state student?
I'm an out-of-state student and I didn't think it was that difficult. Like if I wanted to go to DC, I would just take the metro, and like I feel like campus, like everything's in walking distance, which is really convenient. So I didn't really struggle with not having a car at all. And none of my friends had cars either. So like it wasn't really like a problem for us to not have a car.
I agree. I don't think it was a problem having a car. Usually everything is walking distance. We have shuttles that can take you from one place to another. Metro, if you want to go to DC or other areas that are a bit farther away. Students can also get a little creative. You can have like scooters, skateboards. You can use all of that to get around campus. And usually that's what most students do, bikes, rather than have a car.
Yeah, bikes, scooters, electric skateboards. I've seen it all. Do you guys feel, next question is, do you guys feel siloed away from campus? Do you feel like you're able to connect with other students across campus that are not a part of the Honors College?
Yeah, I do. I think there's so many other programs. Like I'm in EWIL, which is Empowering Women in Law, and I joined a sorority, and like they're like everyone in my sorority is not in an honors college. So like you connect with like a lot of different people through a lot of different clubs, and there's so many. That we have this thing called the First Look Fair, which is held usually in September, and it gives you like access to a lot of different clubs that you could find out about, and then you could join them. And there's just so many different things you could join that all isn't like just about the honors college, which is really nice.
I agree. It's definitely fairly like easy to meet people outside of your LLP or outside even the honors college. A lot of my friends that are in Gemstone or aren't in the honors college, I met through clubs and through my classes. So it's fairly easy to get to know people that aren't in the honors college.
Thank you. And then there's a question in regards to competition regarding internships. I'm not 100% sure in regards to what the competition looks like regarding internships. However, there's so many internships available on campus that students really, I've literally heard students say they've had a harder time trying to figure out which one they're going to go to than finding one. It's just, there are a lot of opportunities that you can get involved in. Can a freshman start, I guess you're saying an incoming student start summer classes, like study abroad? Not that I know of. So they would start in the fall. Okay, so another question for you guys. Why did you pick UMD?
For me, there were a couple of different reasons why I picked UMD. When I was going through sort of the application process and visiting schools, I felt like UMD had a really supportive community. And that was something that I was really looking for, just having that support to like lift you up and push you in the right direction from both the students and the faculty. And also another reason why I did choose to come to UMD was Gemstone itself. I knew I wanted to pursue research in college, and Gemstone provided me a really great opportunity to conduct my own research, but also have like the support whenever I needed it, going into it for the first time. So that was really helpful for me. And I also love the location of UMD as well. Just being close to family is important. So having UMD be and stay and be close to family, I think that was another plus and a reason why I came.
Yes, I agree. Also, like, reason I came to UMD was because of the honors program and the location as well, being close to DC, I thought was really nice because I wanted like the like college campus, like traditional like vibes, I guess, but also being close to DC and like there's so many opportunities within DC. So I feel like I got the best of both worlds by coming to UMD.
Thank you, guys. I just dropped some links into the chat regarding we had some questions in regards to the class scheduling. So that link is there. Questions in regards to after today. If you have any questions, you can contact us at our email address. And then information regarding general education requirements, the link is there too. Thanks, Jenny, for providing that. Let's see. When can students go to study abroad? And how about the tuition or scholarship? So typically students will do study abroad, I want to say around their junior year or sophomore, junior year. Depending on how, well, we typically tell them to, when they're first coming into college, to kind of set the plan that ahead of time so that they're making sure that they're completing they graduate on time and stuff of that nature. In regards to tuition and scholarship, do either one of you know?
I have a little bit of information. So it depends. There's a wide array of study abroad options. If it's a university sponsored study abroad program, then I think the tuition goes through the student account. And so it would be billed on the student account and be paid in the same way regular tuition would be paid. I'm not sure how much it costs and how that relates to what the tuition that a student would normally pay is. But I will say if a student is on a scholarship, a UMD scholarship, then generally with pre-approval, a student scholarship can cover, can go towards the tuition for the study abroad. So if a student is on a UMD scholarship, I'd really suggest that the student make sure they check the policy statements for the scholarship that they are receiving. Those are all available on the UMD financial aid website. I usually find them by Googling the name of the scholarship in UMD and the policy comes up. So check that scholarship policy. It's usually under a section called non-standard programs. And so a student just has to, request approval for the scholarship to cover the, or to go towards the study abroad. And generally, as far as I know, that is approved. But that would be definitely a question to ask the study abroad office, and make sure the student knows sort of the costs in advance before they commit so that they're aware of what the cost will be and what will and won't be covered by their scholarship or any, financial aid that they may have as well.
Thank you. So the next question is about guaranteed housing. Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, but students are guaranteed, our students are guaranteed housing as long as they stay on campus. Oh,
it's not guaranteed.
Okay.
There's a set of sort of priorities within the housing office, and who gets first priority. Their first priority is incoming freshmen and new freshmen, new students on campus. And then it's sophomores, and then it might be seniors and juniors, just because we want to be able to support seniors to complete their degree. I'm not certain. That's a res life policy. Then there are some students who are exempt from that policy who are guaranteed housing. I believe that students who are Banneker Key scholarship recipients are exempt from that policy and are guaranteed housing. But the sort of the exception to that is if a student moves off campus and then tries to come back on campus, then it's more challenging. So a student is going to be higher sort of in the priority pool if they remain on campus. So regardless of, any sort of exemption or outside of the 4-year commitment policy from the university, a student who is on campus is going to have priority to continue on campus over a student who is off campus trying to get a spot on campus. So if you are, a freshman and you decide to live off campus your sophomore year, and then you try to come back your junior year, you may have some trouble there. If you are a freshman who stays on for sophomore year, then you're going to have a higher priority status for your junior year. But it's not a guarantee other than freshmen, as far as I know, who can submit their housing confirmation form by May 1st, those students are guaranteed housing. Beyond that, it is based on priority.
Thanks. What other research opportunities does the Honors College provide besides Gemstone, which is the research-based program? So as mentioned before, there's different faculty for different programs may have research that they're doing. And so our students can ask them. I know a lot of students kind of will email a bunch of different faculty members and try to request research opportunities with them. So there are different opportunities, some within honors through our faculty and then outside of honors as well. Can a DCC, which Design, Cultures, and Creativity honor student, room with a university honor student?
The answer to that question is no, unless they live outside of the honors housing. So those programs are both programs that do not require housing. They do not require students to live in their housing. Generally, our residence halls have enough space for the incoming students in that program. We do not have space for a DCC student to pull in a UH student or a UH student to pull in a DCC student in general. There may be some exceptions to this rule, but generally that is the policy. And also, as I mentioned in the roommate finder, students are coded by their particular LLP and can only match with students in their LLP. So the only way for a DCC and UH student to live together would be to live outside of their specific program housing. I also wanted to mention, I saw the question about the social media frame. Not that I know of, but what a great idea.
That's exactly what I said.
We'll work on that one. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Oh, ACEs pull in IB. So again, ACEs students are only going to be coded as ACEs students, and even though they live in the same building, so ACEs, IBH, and DCC students all live in the same building, but they are coded as ACEs or IBH, so they're not going to match that way. I think if there's an ACEs and an IBH student who know each other and know that they want to live together, I think that those students could contact the Office of Resident Life for more information and then request it. But again, that part is going to be up to Resident Life. We thankfully do not make the actual assignments. That is the Office of Resident Life.
Awesome. The next question is for you, Jenny.
Yay. Okay. So I haven't been in the School of Music for 4 years, but it is still my academic home. Yes, non-music majors are welcome to audition for all of the ensembles on campus. I will be quite honest and say that the symphony orchestra is going to be primarily majors. It's going to be undergraduate and graduate students. And it's unusual for a non-music major to be placed in the symphony orchestra, but there is also the repertoire orchestra. So there are 2 orchestras available, and the repertoire orchestra is typically a mix of majors and non-majors. So a super, super talented non-major student could certainly earn a spot in the symphony orchestra, but just so you know, that is fairly unusual. But please do it.
Next question for the students, since that's Adam, I wouldn't know, but do you guys have a recommendation in regards to meal plans that a student would start out with?
I don't remember exactly what meal plan I said. I think my parents kind of figured it out for me. But my meal plan was very good. I had I think there's things called like TERP dollars, and I got like $300 per semester for that, and you could use that at like at Stamp. So there's like Chick-fil-A, Qdoba, Panda Express, and then you could also use that at like Starbucks. And that was like really helpful because I would just swipe my UIT and then it would just go into my account, which was really nice. And then for like dining plans, I think I had like 3 swipes or per day, and that was really helpful because I just went for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So it looks like we've answered all the questions. If you guys have any other questions, you can put them in the Q&A area. While we're waiting, I'll ask our students, You already answered, you're welcome. You already answered about why you chose UMD. In regard, other than the benefits that I mentioned, do you find any other benefits of being in the honors college? Like, what do you find that you benefited from or benefiting from?
I think I mentioned kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but I can kind of elaborate on it. But I think one of the benefits was growing as an individual and as a professional in whatever field you're trying to pursue. I think I can speak to Gemstone, but I've gained a lot of like personal skills, interpersonal skills that have really helped me in grad school interviews and internship interviews. Basically being able to tell your research in a very effective manner, being able to present yourself in a way that would allow the other person to know that you are a person they want to work with, and being able to have those skills very early on, I thought was very important and helped me to secure interviews, but also do well in those interviews. So I think that was for me another plus from the honors college, and something that I didn't think about before I came in. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
We do have a question in regards to internships. So our internships, the internships that are available, are they generally mostly unpaid or paid? I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm sure we have both, but I don't know what the actual, like, which one is generally going to be. Yeah, I don't have those statistics, unfortunately, but I'm sure we have both available.
I do know that there's scholarships available for unpaid internships. So if like a student is participating in an unpaid internship and wants to like, like get compensated, there's scholarships that they can apply through UMD to get compensated.
That is good to know.
I was going to ask you guys if you have any advice for these students. We're like 12 days, not that I'm counting, from the confirmation deadline. And, they are trying to finalize decisions or starting to prepare for orientation. And, coming to UMD this fall. Do you guys have any advice for the students or their families who might be on this call?
I think for me, I was told to like take advantage of like every opportunity that's presented to me, and I like feel like I have, and it's been really helpful in like kind of expanding on. I didn't really know like coming into college what I wanted to do like in the future, and after like my freshman year, I decided I want to apply to the business school because I wanted to like go on the finance route, and I feel like through the opportunities like I had taken during my freshman year, I kind of realized what I wanted to do. So I would say like take all the opportunities that are presented, and because there's so many at UMD.
Yeah, and kind of going along that, I think don't be afraid to try new things. You'll be really surprised by what you end up liking and what you don't. I think there were certain clubs that I like didn't think I would like, and I went with a friend and I like really enjoyed them. So just don't knock it out until you try it, and don't be afraid to try new things. You're gonna discover a lot more about yourself in college, and it's gonna be a really interesting process, and you're going to be challenged as well, but just don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And how would you guys describe the support and accessibility that you have with your honors program staff and faculty versus the faculty across campus in your other classes? Is there a difference?
I feel that since the classes are smaller for honors classes, I get closer to my professors, and I just like can go to them and ask them questions about, like, I remember during my freshman year, I asked one of my professors a question about my resume and like tried to help out with that. So I feel more comfortable going to my honors professors just because it's smaller classes and I get to know them more.
Yeah, I think in terms of like your honors professors and the honors college staff, they've known you or you'll know them and they'll know you for a very long time, and you build a really personal relationship with them, as compared to some of the other professors where you might just have a class with them. So they see you throughout the 4 years and they know you very well. And I think it's easier for you to go to them because they've been with you since the beginning and they've seen you grow since the beginning as well.
And just to reiterate, there's a question in regards to the housing application. So you do not have to, there is no place to specify which living learning program you're in. We do that on the back end as we work with the Res Life department. This question is for Elizabeth. How large are your business classes?
I think they like range from about like 60 people to maybe like 150, but there's a lot of the honors class, I mean, a lot of the business classes have discussion sections, which is like 20 people. So like once a week you'll meet with your discussion section and it's like 20 people, which is nicer. But the large classes I thought were going to be like really like, I wasn't going to like them, but I actually do like them and they're really helpful.
Thank you. Let's see. So for the next question, I'm assuming, are they in letters? Oh, you got it, Jenny? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The question was about changing major. So I had just answered a very similar question. So go to admissions.umd.edu, then enroll, then freshman FAQ somewhere. And I put the link in there. There's a process for if I want to change my major, what do I do? So that's how you do it.
Any other questions that you guys have? We are only a few days out from confirmation deadlines, so ask them now.
Oh, okay. So great. Another music question. Thank you. Yes, if she wants to minor in music, she should contact music admissions. I believe the email address is probably still musicadmissions@umd.edu. I can put that in a response to you. If they do marching band, will it conflict with any DCC programming? I'm not sure. I don't know the DCC course schedule and times. If you want to email us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu, I can look that up and give you an answer or show you, where that information would be available. I think marching band is a fantastic option for students who want to do it. It is a big time commitment. But the marching band plays at all the home games. They travel with the football team for one away game per year. They travel with the team to bowl games. And then there's also basketball pet bands, which play at all of the men's and women's home basketball games. And they travel with the team for Big Ten and NCAA tournaments, both men's and women's. And I would like to point out that both men's and women's were very competitive this year. So it's a great opportunity for students who are interested in participating in that.
Thank you, Ms. Belinda, for putting in the link for internal transfer students. So the person who asked about their child changing to the computer science major, she was gracious enough to put the link in there from the computer science website. Thank you.
Question about if they can't find an honors orientation. At any time, students can reach out to their living learning program for more information. But in addition to that option, I actually do keep track of students' orientation and the dates they're registered for. And typically a few days to a week in advance of any non-honors orientations, I contact the students that are registered for those non-honors orientation and make sure they know which courses they need to register for their LLP. So they'll meet with an advisor. I also work with the advisors and let them know what students need to register for, but it can't hurt to have a reminder. So I send the students, hey, here's the first one and or two courses that you need to register for honors. And then they have that information before they attend orientation. But again, at any point, you can always reach out to your LLPs if you have any questions.
And there's a question about getting around. The campus is huge. I will not lie. There's hills, construction. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So what do you recommend a bike or a scooter or something of that nature to get around?
I personally just walk to the different buildings, but especially now, like usually most of my classes are in the same area, so I don't really need to get a bike or a scooter. But I know a lot of my friends do have like a bike or a scooter that they use to travel. A lot of the times because like they live in off-campus apartments that are a little further out, or their classes are a little bit further out from each other. So it can be very helpful to have a bike or a scooter to get around.
Any other questions? Grishma, the next question is for you. Where are most of your classes located?
So my freshman year, my classes were a little bit more spread out. So I'm a bio and psych major. So I had classes in the chem building. I had a couple of gen eds at TAS. I had a couple of classes in ESJ, and HJP. Right now, most of my classes are either in the bio psych building, ESJ, or the plant science building, which is, if like you've been to campus, it's basically like a small circle around a courtyard. So they're fairly close together.
Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't think the Honors College as a whole, to my knowledge, the individual LLPs are not doing anything. It's Maryland Day is a fantastic day. I have been several times when my kids were younger. Now it's more challenging as they get older. They have more stuff going on, as you know, our families know, I'm sure. But if you're, if you haven't been to Maryland Day, definitely come check it out. There's a ton of activities. You can visit, all sorts of campus buildings, offices, departments, and learn about, the university and what we have to offer, see performances, participate in performances, learn about, biology, engineering. There's tours of some of the like engineering buildings that they have, some new buildings. So Maryland Day is a great day on campus if you want to come check it out.
So for incoming students that are on the fence right now regarding picking which college they're going to attend, can you share anything further about your experience at UMD that you think would be probably something that you would want to hear when you were trying to make that decision?
I think something for me is I'm an out-of-state student, and I definitely didn't want to stay in state, but I wanted to like go somewhere where it would be really convenient to go home, and like I just take the Amtrak home, and like I was considering schools that were the similar distance away, but I chose Maryland because I just felt like the community here was so strong, and like it wouldn't be daunting to go to a big school, because I know like some big schools like you kind of like get lost, but like here I feel like I found a place, which I know sounds like cliche, but like there's just so many opportunities, and like if I like could go back and tell myself like when I was deciding, I would just say like to take all the opportunities I could, and like also just go out of your comfort zone, and like I feel like UMD is a good place to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And kind of to add on, I think UMD is a big school, but you definitely find a smaller group of people that you become very close with. So it becomes like sort of a smaller community and a bigger community. And you have this opportunity to really form a bond with really close, like small knit group people. But also if you wanted to branch out, you have the opportunity to branch out and meet other people as well. And that's something that I really liked about UMD. Just having people that are always going to be there with you, but also having the opportunity to constantly meet new people.
Thank you guys. And for the family who asked that question, if you have any specific questions that would be helpful for your students to know, feel free to email us after this at honorsadmissions@umd.edu. We can kind of help you answer any of those questions. Okay, this is a good question. Do you feel like that's easy access to cultural opportunities between DC and also, I don't know if either one of you have traveled to New York, but DC and New York? I would say yes. I mean, like our students said earlier, they take, I know Elizabeth, you say you take the Amtrak back home to Jersey. You can take a bus, and I'm pretty sure Amtrak too to New York. DC is literally in our backyard, so you can hop on Metrobus or the subway and get into DC fairly easily, and experience those cultural opportunities that DC offers.
I also wanted to share some of our programs will offer opportunities for students to travel to these locations. I think that Honors Global Communities does a sort of welcome scavenger hunt in the fall for their students, where they go into DC. I also know that HGC took their students or offered an opportunity for students to go and meet with an ambassador from a particular country. I'm sorry, I can't identify which country it was, but I remember there was a visit with an ambassador. So that is something that I know HGC students have done. I'm certain that the other programs have offered these sorts of opportunities. I know that Honors Humanities just offered a trip to New York City, where they took their students to New York. I don't know exactly what all was included in their itinerary, but you know, it's, you know, visiting humanities, it's humanities. So maybe they went to see a show or something. I don't know the specifics, but it was a trip to New York for the students in the Honors Humanities program. So there are definitely lots of opportunities, and, you know, academic units will do things. Again, my background in the School of Music, the choirs go and perform with the National Symphony Orchestra, the Kennedy Center, every other year, annually, I don't know. So they've also traveled, you know, the groups have traveled various places for performance opportunities. So that is an example from the School of Music, because again, that's what I'm familiar with, but, you know, other academic units on campus will also offer opportunities. And that's, you know, a big plus of our location, that we are so close to DC and we are so accessible to DC. So definitely an advantage to UMD.
Thank you. Any other last questions?
You have us for about 5 more minutes.
Here's a question that we actually didn't get today, that I usually see, especially from the families. Do you guys feel safe on campus?
I definitely do. I feel like there's so many, like, there's always like people around, which I know isn't like always like deeming safe, but like, I don't know, when there's like crowds, I feel safer, but that's just a personal preference. But there's also like these things called blue lights, which I know a lot of campuses have, where, and like they're really like convenient and close, and like obviously like always travel with someone if you're going out at night. But I think overall I feel very safe on campus, and like that's something I was worried about too, and I feel very safe.
I agree. I think I also feel very safe on campus. We have the blue lights. There's always like lights on the campus, so it's not dark anywhere if you were walking home late at night. And there's always people around. And if you do like, if you don't want to walk late at night, we have like a night ride that you can request, and they'll pick you up and drop you off at your like home. So you don't have to worry about like walking home alone at night. But as always, like with any like place, you need to be cautious if you're especially traveling alone at night, but UMD is pretty safe and I haven't had any issues.
All right, next question, Virginia.
Yeah, so we had a question about percentage of Maryland residents. So we invite you know, a large percentage of students who are not from the state of Maryland. We are always looking to enroll out-of-state students, but our enrollment is probably 85%-ish Maryland residents. So way more Maryland residents say yes than out-of-state residents. We'd certainly be happy to have more out-of-state students, but you know, we certainly understand that in-state tuition is a huge thing. So yes, we are primarily Maryland residents in our program, but that does not mean that we don't invite out-of-state students. We certainly do.
Thank you for that. All right. While we're sitting here, just a reminder, I know I said this earlier, but if you have any questions or if your student has not submitted their preference form, please have them email us at honorsadmissions@umd.edu.
Is this just the Honors College? I mean, it's sort of applicable across the board to the University of Maryland. Again, the University of Maryland accepts, you know, a good percentage of out-of-state students, but we enroll more in-state students than we do out-of-state. I don't know the specific percentages for the university as a whole. I know that the Honors College is, Chantel, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it's like 85%-ish in-state.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any last questions before we get off? Thank you all for coming.